So,
Exactly.
so how did you get from computers to sort of the next stage of learning?
Okay. When I was in Apple, I moved from international marketing and then looking at technologies, starting as something called a School of Technology and Management, so that I can get the technologists, engineers, and the managers and human resource people to come together, because I had an opportunity by a gentleman called Phil Dixon, who invited me to come and work with Apple University. I didn't know anything about human resource management at that time, but he felt I had some good insights on managing people as well as managing technology. And he felt many of the engineers did not respect HR. They felt human resource people are not value adding to their technology. And so in that respect, I was supposed to be the bridge, because I was working in advanced technology. I was working with marketing and sales people. So I ended up actually being in Apple University, but that was the most traumatic experience of my life, because just to make it very quick, at the end of first year, my manager called me, Stefan Vincennes, who was the director of the Apple University, and told me, he said, you did spectacularly well in terms of content. You did more work than many of the people do in 3 years. And he said, in doing it, you were breaking a lot of glass. And he said, the process was so focused on the content, but you didn't have necessary emotional intelligence to really take people along. So even though your performance requires a promotion, I'm not going to give you a promotion. And I'm going to ask you actually to learn about how we do things in human resources and learn to connect with people at a much deeper level. That was a shock to me, because everywhere else people focused on what I do, but now he's saying what you do is irrelevant. How you did what you did, how you took people along was much more important than what I have done. Literally, like, opened me wide open. I realized I had no clue what it means to take people along. And that started my journey into emotional intelligence, even though that language was not available at that time. But it was more about self-reflection, introspection. And then there was an opportunity, a guy called Bill Atkinson, who was a fellow and who invented the Mac, Paint and HyperCard and some of them. We ended up partnering, really looking at how to design tools that transform humanity. We called it a learning processor. How do we design that? So he was only looking at it from brain, and he was looking at it from doing perspective. I took him to people like J. Krishnamurti's philosophy, John Dewey, and helping him to look at Piaget, Montessori. So we went from Seymour Papert and Marvin Minsky and looking at artificial intelligence, like through Prolog and Lisp, and how do we design hardware and software, to look at deeper levels of human consciousness. What makes us learn? What makes us collaborate? What makes us think? What makes us create? What makes us lead? These were the 5 things. How do people learn? How do people create? How do people collaborate? How do people lead? And how do people think? We said these are the fundamental capabilities we need to investigate. And that led to interviewing about 200 extraordinary people that included 17 Nobel laureates and extraordinary sportsmen and scientists, and spending time in brain research and all of them. That's how I went into my learning journey, and where I spent a year doing everything other than any tangible, measurable outcome. I really focused on the process in there. That was the second transition.
As someone who worked as a human in the human resource community in Silicon Valley during that time, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying about the disconnect between the HR people and the engineers, how they look at life, and you were building some extraordinary bridges.
Yeah, that bridges happened not because I knew anything, just like technology was something I was a user, but not a developer. And similarly, human resource is what I fell into thanks to grace and gratitude. And then I had to learn everything from inside out. I had to learn what it means to work with and collaborate and learn. So this was another place where I was not intending to go, but universe threw me into that aspect of it.